Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is Milan coming to you from the Black Forest in Germany. And I had a really interesting conversation today with a psychotherapist. And we were talking about the subject of reality, being connected to reality, being grounded, realistic, reasonable. We were talking about a specific scenario, and I was getting all imaginative. I guess a little too imaginative for her, and she was trying to quote, bring me back to earth. Oh dear. And convince me of the fact that, well, we need to be reasonable and it's so important to stay connected to reality. Now, that particular word, that's what just totally pushed my button. Because as much as I am a fan of, looking the truth in the face and, not hiding from the matter at hand and all that jazz, when you say reality, to me, that word automatically goes ding ding in my head. Reality is relative. And here's what I mean by that. Just like when I was talking in my other video about how you can look at the same situation from two totally different perspectives, or even 10 different perspectives, right? So when you say, well, this is the reality, well, really, what is reality, right? Some people think or will, claim to their last breath, reality equals nobody can walk on water. And there's other people who are convinced to their last breath walking on water is just, anybody can, right? So here's a story to kind of illustrate my point on, how we interpret certain situations, and especially when it comes to situations that seem negative and maybe we can see nothing good in it at the moment. Some people may talk about walk by faith, not by sight, just believe, good things come to those who wait, yada yada. So here's a story I wanted to tell you today. And the story is set in a village in China. I'm kind of a fan of Chinese stories. So it's set in a village in China. And there was this one particular man who lived in the village. And he had one and only son. And his only son was his pride and joy. And his one prayer and one wish for his son was that his son would, stay happy and healthy and be kept away from harm. Now, the interesting thing about this man was, whenever anything would happen in his life, and anyone around him, his villagers, his neighbors, would observe these events, whether it was that his well dried up, or that his crops died, or even when good things happened, they immediately made an assessment of the situation. Oh, what a terrible thing has happened to you, dear neighbor. Or, oh, what a wonderful thing has happened to you, dear neighbor. And regardless of what they said, whether positive or negative, in that particular moment, his answer was always, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I do not yet know. So, on a particular sunny day, his son was out riding his horse. And, as fate would have it, his son fell off the horse and broke his leg and was unable to walk. So, there he is with a son that has a broken leg, and, of course, the initial reaction of his neighbors is, oh, you poor thing, we're so sorry for you. What a terrible thing has happened. Your son has broken his leg. Now, think for a minute if you were in this man's position. And you're thinking to yourself, now I have prayed to the gods that my son would be safe and kept away from harm. You might initially respond with, ah, crap. My prayers haven't been heard or whatever. Well, wise as he was, what did this man respond with? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I do not yet know. Now, what do you think happened the very next day? Well, the next day, the Chinese army came riding into town, and they recruited every last able-bodied young man in that village to go with them to fight on the front of what turned out to be a very bloody war. Now here's the question. Was that man's son saved from harm? Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. Do we even know? There's more to the story. I don't know the rest of it, though. You'll have to go to that village and ask the man how it turned out. One thing is for sure, his son was spared from a bloody war. I mean, in comparison to breaking your leg, which one do you think is the better bet, right? So, that's my thought for today. Kind of two thoughts at once, but really all boiling back down to the idea of how do we deal with challenging situations or even good situations. If you just lost the job that you thought you wanted to be promoted in, you could immediately assess the situation as, catastrophe. Or you could respond like that villager in the story did and just look at it and say, well, I don't have the job. I thought this was the right thing for me to be doing. Maybe it is good. Maybe it isn't. I don't yet know. So that's my thought for the day. I am wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful Thursday and counting down to the weekend. And I look forward to talking to you again here soon. Bye now.